Now then, YouTube, every 3 months the sands in my personal hourglass run out. There's a test, a short but agonising wait for results, then I get to find out whether my hourglass gets turned over and I get another 3 months of normal life, good outcome, or that I have to get back on the cancer treatment treadmill. Very bad. This is the quarterly routine of life with stage 4 prostate cancer, where the outcome of a blood test for something called PSA really is a matter of life or death. If you ask Professor Google about this, you get told that it's called, rather unimaginatively, PSA anxiety, and that it can significantly affect a patient's well-being. No shit, Sherlock. So, how do you deal with that? I'm Simon, and to be completely honest with you, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to deal with PSA anxiety, but one way I often manage stress and worry is by going out for a bike ride. Pure therapy for all known ills. So in this video, I'll update you on how I'm doing, trying to get back fit enough for the bike after a brutal 6 rounds of chemotherapy. But perhaps we also ought to talk about PSA a bit. We'll come back to that in a moment. First, an update on the walking mission. 3 weeks out of chemo, daily walks are my principal means of trying to get back to an active life. This week, well, bit of a wake-up call. Okay, so yesterday was not a particularly good day. A bit like these tulips, I was beginning to wilt. In fact, more than that, it amounted to pretty much a total collapse. So what happened? Well, I set off. I've been on track all week to hit my new target of 7,500 steps per day, and this was the 6th day of 7. Pretty much as soon as I left the door, I knew something was badly wrong, but like a foolhardy person, I persevered and cracked on, still with the aim of hitting that 7,500 steps target. That did not happen. In fact, I got to the halfway point and I was a broken man. I was like that far away from calling an Uber to get home. It was that bad. As we were talking about walking here, nothing particularly strenuous. Anyway, somehow I did manage to stagger home very, very slowly. Got some food, and really then there was only one option available to me, which was to go to bed. I was that tired. I slept for 45 minutes. I would have slept longer, I think, had the doorbell not woken me up. Managed to winch myself out of bed and then spend the rest of the day kind of just muddling around, largely in the armchair, actually. Come 8 o'clock, there was no alternative. I had to hit the hay. I was utterly broken, completely ruined, wrecked. Shocking state. Anyway, went to sleep as soon as my head hit the pillow. 10 hours, 37 minutes, comatose. So what's going on here? Well, it's not that difficult to read, is it? This is my body sending me a message in all caps, bold. I'd done too much. I'd overreached. I'd gone on too long without any kind of rest. So looking back on it, I think the huge mistake I made was not to have some kind of rest day. I mean, I haven't actually looked at all my tracking, but I think that was probably the 8th or 9th straight day that I'd done, for me, a pretty significant number of steps. And it was a step too far. It was, in fact, 5,000 steps too far. And that, I think, is the big learning from this terrible episode, which is that I have to build in a break, a rest day, a day when I do, maybe only 1,000 steps or something somewhere into the schedule. And next week, I think it may be more a question of consolidation of recent gains rather than making solid progress on a week-by-week basis. This process it's not going to be linear. So, I mean, I'm hoping that progress will be left to right upwards, but a bit like a kind of stock market chart, there will be dips, and then we'll start rise again, and a dip. And progress is this way, but there will be bumps in the road, and that was what I hit yesterday, and it was no fun at all. Okay, back to PSA, my least favourite TLA, or three-letter abbreviation. It stands for prostate specific antigen. Your level of PSA is determined by a very simple blood test. Although a positive PSA reading does not automatically mean you have prostate cancer, it can be caused by other things, which is why it's not a 100% reliable screening tool. In fact, 3 in 4 men with raised PSA will not be diagnosed with cancer. Raised level is a reading of above 3 nanograms per milliliter. There's no real need to go into my entire PSA history here. Suffice to say that I had raised levels and I was that guy of the 1 in 4, and I got diagnosed with prostate cancer after lots and lots and lots of other tests. It's never diagnosed on a PSA test alone. Anyway, long story short, the chemotherapy and hormone treatments have reduced my PSA to what they call undetectable, essentially 0. Where things get tricky is if, or more likely when, my PSA starts rising. We'll be on alert when it does, and if it gets over 2, then I will either have to have more treatment or decide I'm not having more treatment. This is where it's all a bit of a high wire balancing act with no safety harness. I'll have a test every 3 months, and that's where I nervously stop on the high wire and furiously grip my balancing pole before either plunging down or cautiously regaining my balance and stepping forward. Tomorrow, I'm going to see the consultant to get the results of what will now become a 3-monthly routine. Any one of these would be fantastic. All 3 would be wonderful. Now then, YouTube. Well, about an hour ago, I came out of my meeting with the consultant. This is right at the end of this intensive burst of treatment, which has lasted now about 5 months. Anyway, I got into a bit of a tizzy about this appointment. There used to be a TV programme years and years and years ago on British TV called Appointment with Fear. And for some reason, I'd got this one down as an appointment with fear. There was no reason for it. There was absolutely no reason to expect any kind of adverse finding in the blood tests. But I got into a bit of a tizzy about it. Anyway, went in, usual bit of chit-chat and small talk and how are you and general health and stuff. And I just said, look, give me the results, dude. What are my bloods doing? Anyway, they are absolutely fine. Bang on. My PSA is undetectable, which is exactly where we want it to be. So that is really, really good news. A lot of relief. I don't know why I got so wound up about it, but I did. Anyway, the winding upness was very quickly solved as soon as I saw the results of the blood test. So I am good to go for the next 3 months. And that brings to an end this very challenging 5-6 month period of very intensive treatment. So I'm pretty relieved, actually. I'm pretty happy. And I'm now out walking, trying to keep the steps up. Speaking of which, well, time to report on the results of this week's steps mission. As you will recall, I was looking for 7,500 average steps per day. Well, I'm very sorry and very disappointed to have to report that it's a fail. I didn't make it. Disappointing, eh? 7,300 was the final total average per day. So 200 short times 7, 1,400 steps short. We know the reason. If you were watching earlier, it was that terrible collapse. Self-inflicted, not sufficient rest, lesson learned. So the target for next week is not going to be too stretching. I'm going to remain the same, I think. I'm going to aim for 7,500 steps next week and we're looking at consolidation. So yeah, that's about it for this one. I hope you enjoyed watching, as always. At the end of the last video, I did say I was going to reveal my secret weapon in the fight to get fit again. Well, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I am going to leave this. And next time, we'll talk about it. Thanks for watching YouTube. See you next time.